Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Unique Excel, and on today's tutorial I'll be making shirts and shorts. A shirt and a short. You can use vintage material, you can use cotton, any material you'd like to use. So I got 2.5 yard of fabric for this shirt and short that I'll be making, and I just folded my fabric in two because I want to cut the front piece and the back piece all together. I'll actually be folding it in four, but I'm folding it in two right now. And the part I'm ruling out, it causes skews on clothes. It doesn't make your clothes look perfect. So I'd advise that you cut ½ inch of the fabric out to remove the skews that you may have. And the part where I'll be measuring my length, the length of my clothes, is the part that is not stretchy. The part that I'll be measuring the width of the clothes is the part that is slightly stretchy. So having measured the ½ inch that I'll be cutting out to avoid the skews, I'm going to measure 1.5 inches. That 1.5 inches will be on my front piece. I'm cutting my front and my back piece together. So the one down is my front piece, and that 1.5 inches is signifying where my button and buttonholes will be. I'll still have to fold that in the 1.5 inches. And remember, my back is on fold, why my front is not on fold, because that's where I have to button up. So my length is 24 inches. I'll be adding extra 5 inches allowance. 4 inches, I'll be cutting it out. You'll see it soon in this tutorial. And the extra 1 inch is for the sewing allowance. So I'll just go ahead and cut out my 34 inches altogether. 24 plus 5 inches, so that's 34 inches. So after cutting my 34 inches, I cut out the part that causes skews or fold on clothes that will not make it look so nice. That's the part I'm cutting out right now. So I'll be left with just my 1.5 inches for my button and buttonholes. So this is what we have. I have length 34 inches. I'm going to open that part up because the only part I need to be on fold is my back. And as you can see in what I laid, I have one part on fold, that's the back, and the front, which is 1.5 inches wider than the back, is on. It doesn't have to be on fold. It doesn't have to be on fold. So this is my back piece and this is my front piece. I already separated it. So the next thing to do now is that we added 5 inches allowance. So we are going to be cutting out 4 inches to form a shoulder slant on a shirt. So the 4 inches, you're going to lay your front higher than your back. You're going to lay your front higher than the back by 4 inches. So when you lay it higher than your back by 4 inches, like I'm doing here, 4 inches higher, so that's my back panel, that's my front, 4 inches on both sides. Make sure it's equal so we have a perfect shirt. So what I'm going to do right now is, on the part where I'm supposed to have like my neckline, I'm going to measure that 4 inches there, and on the other side, this way I'll have my 4 inches. On the other side, that's where my armhole will be. I'm going to have 8 inches. So that's where the slant will come in. 8 inches. So I'm going to slant the 4 inches to meet the 8 inches. That's my shoulder slant. And remember, the front is higher than the back by 4 inches while we are cutting. So at the end of the day, the front will be shorter than the back after cutting the slant, and that makes the back come forward towards the front. Our shoulder slants after sewing the clothes will be a bit towards the front. The back will come to the front a bit. So I'll just go ahead to cut out the slants that I have chalked out. Good. So we can now make sure that the back is higher than the front. So I'm laying in such a way that the back is higher than the front, the length is equal at the down part. So we can say that the back is higher than the front, and this is my 1.5 for button and buttonholes. Then I'm just going to fold that back, the excess back, to meet the front. Like I'm covering it, like I'm covering the parts where I'm going to stitch, actually, like the shoulder joint. So this is me just marking out the 1.5 so that when I have to measure the width of my clothes, I don't mistake it. I don't mistakenly measure it from that end. So my armhole cuff, I'm using 9 inches for my armhole cuff. Then I'm going to roll it out. So if you check back on the length, we'll say that we have 30 inches now as the length. Remember, we added 5 inches allowance and our length is 24. The actual length we're using is 29, sorry. So that's 29, and we already removed 4 from the 5 allowance we added, so it's just 1. So that equals it to 30. So my back measurements for this tutorial is 8.5, that's 17. Then I divided 17 by 2, that's 8.5. Then I added half inches sewing allowance to it. So I just rolled it down. I measured 9 inches on the shoulder and 9 inches on the chest line. The next thing I'm going to do now is that I'm going to take the chest measurements. For this tutorial, I'm using chest 36, which is 9, and I'm adding 1.5 inch allowance. That will make it 10.5 inch. So I'm just going to chalk the 10.5 inch straight. Some people prefer that the shirt has shape at the waist side, so you can decide to put that, but I just did mine straight, like the chest straight down to the hip, because the client wants it straight. So I'm just going to, I'll be taking the length from just the front, not from the back now, to the chest line. I have 7 divided by 2, 3.5. So I'm going to take half inch inside, and I'm going to just form my cuff. So your shirt looks really perfect in the shoulder, not having some excess fabric in the shoulder. That's the sense of the half inch we are taking in for the front. Only the front. The back will be cut normal, like the normal way. So this is what we have. So we are left with our neckline. We've not formed our neckline yet. We're going to be So for my neckline, I'll be using 2.5 inches by 4 inches, 2.5 inches wide by 4 inches. So I'm just going to check it out. My neck measurement is 16. So after chalking it out, I'll trace it out. I'll use my taper to measure it round to make sure that I have my chest and my neck measurements as 16, and I'm giving it a sort of like C shape. So a C shape. I'll make it very round. You get. So I gave my neck a nice shape, something like a C cuff. As you can see, I'm making it bolder for clearer view, and that's my armhole cuff. So we'll be cutting the armhole cuff for the back the normal way, like the normal cuff. But for the front is the one that we removed half inch inside and made another cuff for. But this will be very you'd see this when I'm cutting it. So this is me cutting out the neckline for my front. You make sure that you don't cut it together with that back. You open it up, because if you cut it together, then the neck might be too wide, and that we're going to notch it there. Then cut it out like this. We're only cutting out this part. Yeah, just like I'm doing in this video. So we'll lay it back. And now we can cut out the other sides of the shirt. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share if you enjoyed this tutorial video. I apologize for using a chalk that is not very clear and doesn't make it so visible, but I'm trying as much as possible to zoom it so that you guys can have a clearer view. I would improve. You can drop your comments and tell me what I should improve on in my next video. Thank you guys so much. So I cut the back piece the same way, and the front piece is the one I'm giving that shape, because we don't want the shoulder, we don't want to see excess when we join our arm to the armhole for the front. So that was why we gave it a shape like. So I'm going to measure my round armhole, and we have 10 inches. So when I'm going to cut my sleeve, I'll be needing that. So I want to give my shirt a side cuff. So I'm just going ahead to give it a side cuff, and I used 3 inches by like 6 inches. I'm used to doing like using freehand sketch, but if you have French cuff, whatever cuff, you can use it to make your. So you just give it like S shape, like the S should not be too S like that, just something like spiral shape. So this is it. I've used freehand sketch to give it the shape. I'm just going to cut it out. I don't want the shape to be too much or too obvious. So this is what I have. So for my back piece, that's my back piece, I'm going to cut half back. So let's move on to our sleeve pattern. So I'm going to take measurement for the length of my sleeve and add extra 2 inches allowance to it. I'm using 9.5 inches length, and I added 2 inches. So to get my armhole cuff, I measured 3.5 inches downward at the extreme end, and I just shaped it from there. And I'm going to measure the 10 inches we measured from the armhole cuff. Then I'm going to chalk it there. I'm going to mark it out rather. So I'm using 6.5 inches here because that's what I measured for my round sleeve. So I'm just going to, that's 2 inches allowance. So I'm just going to join it to the armhole cuff like I'm doing in this video. So we have our sleeve, and we're just going to cut it out. So this is my sleeve, and I notch the allowance, so I'll know where my actual sleeve is. And I went on to press the sleeve, folded it in two. So this is my back, and this is the half back, and this is my collar. So for this collar, I'm going to be showing you the measurements I used. 1.25 for this down part. Then the neck is 16 divided by 2, 8 inches, and I added 1 inch extra. That's 9 inches altogether. Then the 8 inches, I measured it upward and removed half inches on that upper side, which makes it 7.5 inches. Then on this part, I measured 2.75, and on the other side, I measured 2.25. If you'd like to see a clearer, like a more explanatory video on how to cut a collar, you can drop a comment in the comment section. So I can make a separate tutorial video on how to make a collar, a very explanatory one. But if you understand, we are good to go. So here we have 1.25, and I just curved that. And this is my other side. So I just want to show you what it looks like at the end of the day. So eventually we are going to join this part to this part, and we're going to have a collar. So I have my front piece, back piece, sleeve, half back, and collar. So this collar, this day is cut 1.5 inches, and I pressed it, like ironed it on inside, like 1.25 inches inward. Then I'm going to be folding my fabric inside this tape 1.25, and we're folding it twice. And for the right side of our front piece, we're just going to fold it into two, like half inch twice, or 3/4 inch, like 0.75 twice. So this is my sleeve, and this is my back piece. This is my half back that I'm going to sew on my back, and this is my collar. So we'll be making the pattern for our shorts now, and the length I'll be using for my shorts is 21 inches. The person wants it to get to the knee, so I'm removing 1 inches for the band I'll be adding a band to it. So I'm just chopping 20 inches now, adding my 2 inches allowance to fold it after I'm done sewing. And I'm going to just rule out that part that forms fold on clothes, that doesn't make it lay properly. That's what I just chalked. So I'm taking 1.5 inches inward here on the waistline to form like a slant on the waist, so that the waist is firm. Sorry. So then I'm taking 1 inches downward, then I'm going to just slant it to where my 1.5 inches is. So I'm going to measure from that 1.5 inches. My waist measurement, I'm going to take my waist measurement plus 1 inches allowance. So I measured 1 inches, 9 inches rather, for the flap of the trouser, and I just joined my 1.5 I slanted to the hip, to the thigh. So on the thigh, I measured the same thing I measured on my waist plus allowance, just rule it down. And I'm just going to take my thigh measurement divided by 2. So I'm using 24 inches here, divided by 2, that's 12 inches, and I'm going to chalk it out 12 inches. And I'm going to rule that straight line, and I'm going to like form my crotch just like that. So the next thing to do is, on the parts where my length measurement is, I'm going to take 1 inches inward. You know, our leg is not straight, it's kind of slant. We don't have a straight leg as humans, it's kind of slant. So I'm just going to join the 1 inches to where my thigh measurement is on, like just gonna form a slight slant. Yeah. So I'm taking 9 inches for my knee measurements. I'm taking 9, that's 18 altogether. Then I'm just going to join it I'm kind of used to freehand sketching. You can use ruler, you can use French curve, anything you're comfortable with to draw your to join your lines together. So I just joined it together, and I think that will be all that we have to do. We're going to be cutting out now. I'm cutting out from the part where my allowance is, not from my main measurement. I added 2 inches allowance. Then I'm just cutting out. I'm sorry the chalk is not so clear. I would work on that on my next video. I'm so sorry, guys. Just take this as it is. So this is my front pattern, and this is the like 1 inch in slant that we did earlier. So we're going to be cutting out our back pattern. The only difference between the back pattern is that the back piece would take all the allowance that is supposed to be at the front. When we're measuring the tie, we didn't add allowance to the tie. So I'm going to be taking 1.5 inches up, then 2 inches here on this part. Then I'm going to be taking 0.5 inches downward, then 2.5 inches width. Then I'm going to be joining the lines together, and there I will have my 2 inches, and I'm going to like join it together. So this is all you have to do to have your back measurement. And the allowance that we didn't add to the front is what we added to the back for the joining and all of that. And this is the slant, so I'm just going to cut it out like this. So we'll just go ahead to cut it out. So the other side of the pattern will be exactly the way it is for the front. Just the part that we added to is what we are going to cut out as the new sides, like I'm doing in the video. So now we have our front piece and we have our back piece. So we'll be adding stay, collar stay. You can use paper stay, any kind of stay you feel, to your front piece, so the part where the pocket will be, so it stays firm. Yeah, just like I did here. I added 1.5 inches stay. So I have my front back piece. My pocket is 14 inches by 14 inches, so you cut 2 pieces of it. Then I have my band. My band is 1.5 inches wide, so I just kind of like ironed everything. The stay inside is 1.5 inches, and the fabric itself is 4.5 inches, so I just kind of like folded it round it, so I have it neatly sewn, and it would not stress me while I'm sewing. That's the sense of ironing it properly like this. So for my shirt pattern, we'll be sewing now. I'm just going to sew it with like a 1/4 of an inch down. I already folded it twice in with my stay inside it, so I'm just going to fold it like that. So then I'm going to sew it on the other end, so with 1/4 of an inch. The same size you took on that first part is what you take on. So this is it. I've already sewn it and it's looking all nice. And this is the other side of my front piece. I'm going to just roll it in half inch in, or 3/4 inches in twice, so that makes it 1.5 inches that we left as allowance, and I'm going to stitch it. So we have my 2 front patterns sewn like that. Then this is my half back. It will be sewn on my back piece like this. You're going to lay it on your back piece, and you're going to just iron it in with like 1/2 of an inch and just stitch it on top of your back piece like this. So after stitching, this is what I have my half back sewn on my back piece. So if you have a label that you'd like to put on it, on the shirt you are making, you're going to put it on the back piece itself, not the half back now. So you're going to open the two up like that and just sew it on just the back piece itself. So the next thing we'll be doing is want to stitch the front to the back to the back piece. And I have my front. You put your half back aside like I did earlier, then you're stitching into just the back itself. The half back is behind. You're not sewing it on top of the half back. So I have it stitched, my back to my front like this. So the excess 4 inches that we left for the back is what will come to the front. Like, you know, it's not equal in this video. Yeah, so that's the reason why. And the half back that I left behind while sewing is what I'm going to use for like the finishing of that part. So I'm just going to fold it and sew it on top of this sewing like that. So after doing that, this is what I have. I've already stitched it, and that part is already finished and it looks nice and all. So this is what I have. It's already looking like a shirt, but it's sleeveless this time. Remember, we have a sleeve that we'll be working with. I folded the sleeve into two because I wanted to have this like this simple design that I see on shirts around. So then I went on to stitch it with about 1/4 inch at the top of the sleeve. So I sealed it facing the front side of the sleeve. So we are just going to stitch it on the shirt now like that. We're going to stitch it. So this is what we have. I already stitched it together to the front to the body piece. So I'm going to trim this part out, not the part I folded on the shirt, but the part on the body itself. Then after cutting it out, because I want it perfectly laid, then I'm going to stitch it down facing the body of the shirt itself. So this is what I have after doing that. I have my two sleeves joined and looking good. So already looking like a short sleeved shirt. So the next thing we're going to do is the sides. We've not finished the sides, and we're going to just fold it and then sew it with about 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch to all the way to the sleeve part. So you're going to sew it all through like this. So you can sew it facing the back, because if you check most ready to wear shirts, they are always sewing it facing the back. Then after sewing, you can just cut out the extra fabric so it lays well when you do the finishing. So after cutting out the excess fabric, I'm just going to fold it like facing this side, and I'm just going to stitch it on top all the way down to where it started from. So when I did it, this is what I have. I have it all taped down and it's looking like a ready to wear shirt. This is what I have on the side stitched. So this is what we have. So the next thing we'll be sewing now is our collar. So I'm just going to sew my collar all the way. Take the other piece of the collar. I'm just going to bend it to where the stay is, like just bend it over to where the stay is and just stitch it all the way with like 1/4 inch. Then this part I already sewed it tracing the stay inside, then I turned it outward and I just stitched. So I'm just going to sew this other side on my collar, other side of the collar like this. I already knot the center for the two piece, so I'm just going to sew it on the fabric, not on the stay now. So I left excess fabric at the down part. So after sewing, this is what I have. And I'm sewing the sides where the collar is where the stay is together. So then I added an extra fabric at the down part and I stitched, just following the pattern on my stay. So I'm just going to trim it and turn it out So after turning it out, this is what I have. So it's all looking like a collar already. I'm going to trim the down part, and this is what I have after trimming it out. So the next thing to do now is to stitch it on my body, on the body. So I'm just going to make sure that the same measurement I have on my neck of the body is the same I have for my collar. Then I'm just going to stitch it all the way through to the body, the right side fits in each other like that. So the next thing I'm going to do now is just to finish it up. So I'm just going to make sure that the other side of the collar, which is left, is covering the sewn parts on the body. So guys, I had space issue on my phone. I had to make this short without showing you guys this sewing tutorial, but I'm going to do that in another video. Thank you guys for watching. Kindly like, subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you'd like me to drop more content for you guys to see how to make. And if you have a design you'd like me to show you, please drop it in the comment section. Thank you.